speeches marking the January 6 attacks on the U.S. Capitol.
First time in our history, the president had not just lost an election, he tried to prevent the peaceful transfer of power as a violent mob reached the Capitol. The former president who lies about this election and the mob that attacked this Capitol could not be further away from the core American values.
After he spoke, the president took questions from the press where he was asked about the divisive tone of his speech.
Does calling him out divide more than it heals?
Look, the way you have to heal, you have to recognize the extent of the wound. You can't pretend. You gotta face it. That's what great nations do. They face the truth, deal with it, and move on.
And the vice president comparing what happened 1 year ago to some of the worst tragedies in American history.
Certain dates echo throughout history, including dates that instantly remind all who have lived through them where they were and what they were doing when our democracy came under assault. Dates that occupy not only a place on our calendars, but a place in our collective memory. December 7th, 1941, September 11th, 2001, and January 6th, 2021.
Jesse Waters, let me give you first crack at some reaction today on the file.
Well, that was amateur hour with Kamala. It's what a goofball. But January 6th sucked, Dana. It sucked. Everybody knows it sucks. We watched it. I hated seeing what I saw. It hurt the brand. It gave the left an excuse to crack down on innocent Trump supporters. But here is an objective analysis on what had culminated. The populist wing erupted that day. The Trump wing, the populist wing of the Republican Party, had felt disrespected for many, many years. They had propelled Trump to victory in 2016. And immediately, every powerful interest in this country launched a scorched earth campaign against that guy. They went to war with him. Illegal leaking of his tax returns, racial hoaxes, rape hoaxes, illegal targeting, spying, fabricating evidence, planning evidence, vicious stuff. They tried everything. Then COVID hit, and they sued to change the election laws and then blasted out millions of ballots like no one's ever seen. Then all of a sudden Zuckerberg drops $500 million with a B to pay for these private election activists to layer on top of the state election officials. Unprecedented. Then big tech spikes the laptop from hell, the Republicans' October surprise. And then it takes nearly a week to count the votes after the election. So Republicans genuinely felt cheated. They felt robbed. They couldn't prove it in court, but they felt after 4 years of those shenanigans that something was off. It was a culmination of a lot of just nasty skullduggery. Here are the facts, though, Dana. Reuters reports FBI has found no evidence that the January 6th attack was the result of an organized plot to overturn the presidential election. No evidence that Trump or his team were involved in organizing the violence. No seditious conspiracy, no grand scheme. And the vast majority of the people charged were charged with trespassing, which, by the way, isn't even a crime in Manhattan. New York Times reported there was an FBI informant, at least one, inside the mob. And mysteriously, we still don't have an answer as to why the Capitol was left so unprotected that day. The feds are fighting us in court, withholding the video evidence of that day. Now, Professor Waters, history major, would like to share a few things with you guys, because the Democrats are acting like, oh, they've never had a soft spot for political violence. In 1954, Puerto Rican nationals, they shot up the House chamber. They injured 5 members of Congress. Jimmy Carter commuted their sentence. In 1983, American communists bombed the Senate. They were targeting Republicans, blew up the Senate wing on the second floor. Who commuted their sentence? Oh, wait, that was President Bill Clinton. William Harris, Weather Underground. On the Pentagon, his team. Barack Obama, best buds. And if I mean, it hasn't been that long, but I think we all remember that it was the Harris-Biden ticket that bailed out the rioters who set the whole country on fire, causing 30 deaths. So, just want to make sure everybody knows that little history before they start pointing fingers.
There was this other piece that, I want to play for you some sound, Greg, that the president's team released an early excerpt of the speech. This was that excerpt, but here is the president saying it out loud.
At this moment, we must decide, what kind of nation are we going to be? Are we going to be a nation that accepts political violence as a norm? Are we going to be a nation where we allow partisan election officials to overturn the legally expressed will of the people? Are we going to be a nation that lives not by the light of the truth, but in the shadow of lies? We cannot allow ourselves to be that kind of nation. The way forward is to recognize the truth and to live by it.
Greg, your thoughts on that?
Well, this was a guy that was supposed to unite the country, and we pretty much seen what he's turned out to be. He basically, what he did was he scolded millions of Americans for what he believes something very bad that they did. He's presuming their guilt. He's assuming they're guilty. That's not what a president should do. He just reversed the presumption of innocence, concluding that all of those people there were guilty. And he's doing it from the highest office in the land. This is exactly what he did with the Border Patrol agent. This is exactly what he did with Kyle Rittenhouse. There isn't a citizen in America that he wouldn't bash if it suited him politically without the actual facts, without the truth. He keeps talking about the truth. But in every one of those instances, there are lies. There are lies. What America needs right now is a triple vaccine dose of fair and balance. Because we're being force-fed brainwash from a media in an orgy of self-congratulation, in a deliberate and coordinated scam to basically target their political enemies, as Jesse pointed out. And as usual, the Democrats are working in tandem with the media, the same way they did with the Hunter Biden laptop cover-up, the same way they did it with Russian collusion, the same way they did it with the shadow campaign that Time Magazine boasted about that saved the 2020 election. They bragged about that. How can you not see this coordinated effort when you see everybody involved, including the cast of Hamilton, for God's sake? The fact is, why are we, probably the majority of Americans, letting anyone dictate a phony narrative under the guise of an anniversary, unless it's about the anniversary of Ashley Babbitt's murder? Because that's more valuable than anything we listen to today. And it's easy to commemorate one day, right? One day. Good luck commemorating the riots after George Floyd, or the riots after Jacob Blake, or the riots after Trump was elected in 2016. You'd have to commemorate every single day. You would run out of damn candles if you commemorated that stuff. But this is easy. This is easy. It's one day. They're trying to turn it into Pearl Harbor. They're trying to turn it into 9/11, but you can't commemorate their crimes, because then you'll realize how little the media and the Democrats cared about your actual suffering during those riots. So they do this to place a target on the backs of their political enemies, the rubes. And they're doing it as a coordinated effort, and they want this thing to be permanent. Every year we're going to have to do that. I say no, F you. I didn't say the actual
No,
word.
you didn't.
I said F stands for forget.
There's no
Dana.
bleeping.
I said forget.
Hashtag never forget.
By the way, congratulations, Dana, on the Love Boat reboot.
I'm so
You're
excited.
gonna make a great Julie.
I mean, that was a deep tease. That was going to be my one more thing.
Yes.
But stay tuned for that, everybody. You're going to love it.